Okay, hi. Welcome to our counseling session. I'm Megan. Nice to meet you. So, we can go over this a little bit, but this is just a private conversation between the two of us. I won't go over the informed consent because we did that last time, but what seems to be bothering you today?
Well, life's just hitting me really hard right now. I have trouble at home and kind of having trouble at school and at work also.
Yeah. So, kind of just like a lot of things coming at you at once.
Yeah.
Where are you from? Where's home?
I'm from Rock Hill, South Carolina, so it's about maybe an hour and a half away from here.
Okay, cool. So you're close to your family. Is the trouble at home kind of causing a little bit more trouble at school? Like, do you want to talk more about that?
Well, no, I just have a tendency to worry about things that are kind of out of my hand right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like my little sister, she's kind of worrying me about her decision making, but I can't really control it from Columbia, you know.
Yeah. Why don't you tell me a little bit more about her decisions?
Well, she wants to be in a relationship because I'm in a relationship, but that's not why she should be in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So she was talking to this one guy. His name was Jimmy. Whatever. He wasn't really treating her nice. Like, whenever they would go out on dates, she would have to pay for her own way and stuff like that. And he tried to barely make time to go see her. So she stopped talking to him, and then she started talking to this guy named Jamie. And he was very arrogant about himself, and he kind of treated himself as if he was better than her.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of told her about that in a way that she deserves way better than him. But then she kind of went back to talking to Jimmy, the guy who kind of barely made time for her. And I'm not sure if he's going to change or if she's just lowering herself just to find somebody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it sounds like you want what's best for your sister. How old is she?
She's 20.
Okay. Yeah. So around our age too.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like you want what's best for her, and it just might be a little bit hard to watch her make maybe not the right decision for her. Yeah. And it sounds like you already tried to implement your opinion on the situation. How did she handle that when you tried to give her a little bit of advice?
She kind of tried to justify her actions, but then again, I kind of don't want to give her advice and she just follows my advice and not create a mind of her own. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I kind of want to tell her what to do.
Yeah, you want her to make her own decisions and make the right decisions in your mind, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So you said you think she's going back to the Philly? Jimmy and Jamie. Okay, I just want to make sure. You said you think she's going back to Jimmy because that's the easier choice, probably.
Yeah.
Have you ever been in a situation like that?
I kind of have, but then I told myself, don't go down that road. You're going to regret it later. And I kind of just stayed to myself and waited until, the right guy found me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm guessing she's very impatient. She's
mm-hmm.
a very impatient person, just like my mom. She doesn't want to wait on anything. So she thinks that if she go out and get it, then maybe it'll be right for her. But it's not necessarily the case.
Right. I mean, it sounds like you have maybe matured a little bit more and understand that you deserve the best. So good for you for being confident with that. It's always a little bit more difficult, though, the people you're close to, trying to get them to be at that same level as you. So looking back on how you're going to help your sister, we already tried talking to her and telling her your opinion. How else do you maybe think that she could make that decision by herself rather than just a bad example of her getting hurt? You know what I mean?
I think nature should just take its course. If she gets hurt, then there'll be a learning thing lesson for her. Because I tried to tell her she's coming down to USC next year and starting this will be her first year on campus. She's never left home before, so this will be her first experience away from home. So I'm trying to tell her don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Right.
Wait, you might find somebody down here that likes you and wants to spend time with you, and it's not afraid to be with you. But I guess she just have to learn about herself.
Right, and I think if you let your sister too just take her course of action and figure out what she wants and what's going to be best for her, you can also still be that good sister role that I can tell that you have and comfort her if something does go wrong. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so. But you mentioned too, I just want to jump around a little bit. You mentioned too that school is kind of stressing you out too. Is it stressing you out because she's coming or just different?
Oh no, I kind of don't focus about her with school.
Okay, good.
Once I focus on school's my main priority. I have I'm taking 6 classes right now.
Oh gosh.
And they're just all over the place to the point where I can do all the work, but I can't remember when certain stuff is due.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I have a 2 tests this week and a project due. And I haven't started on the project because I've been trying to focus on the test, and it's like it's getting all mixed up.
Right.
And I'm really getting nervous that my grades are going to start dropping, and I don't want that because I'm trying to graduate on time. I don't want to be in school anymore.
I feel
I'm trying to get out.
it's getting close to the end of the semester where you just need to breathe. I feel you. So,
yes. And then my job's ending at the end of the school year because I work on campus, and it's just like, what am I going to do?
definitely, I feel you. So, well, it's hard to, when you're trying to plan and strategize, to focus on long-term things like your job ending in a couple months. So maybe that's not the right place to start. Maybe we could start just at your test this week. Does that sound okay?
Sure.
So what classes do you have tests in this week?
I know I have a French test tomorrow, which I'm not really worried about French. I kind of like French is like my second nature.
Okay.
Then I have one of my psychology classes is having a test. I'm not sure which psychology class. I know it's bad, but I'm not sure which class.
Yeah. They all jumble together.
Yeah, I think the same class is having a project due this Wednesday.
Okay. So the project is due before the test.
Yes, and I kind of had the whole semester to work on the project. I knew it was an easy project because she gave us a very loose rubric. So I've been reading my journals I was supposed to read, but I haven't decided how I want to make the project yet.
Right.
I'm kind of nervous that if I make it how I want to make it, then she's gonna give me a bad grade because it's so loosely graded.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So that the project is due this Wednesday.
Yes.
And today's Sunday. Okay. So with all the things going on this week, where do you think a good place to start is? Just picking things off little by little.
Basically, the way my schedule works, I work every night during the week, and I go to school in the morning. So I have a late class on Tuesday, so maybe if I stay up late Monday night, I can get the project done because I'm basically halfway done with what I have done. So if I stay up late Monday night and then go to class on Tuesday, I should be good. I can sleep in a little bit later.
Okay, but you do have half the project done?
I have the reading part.
Well, that's good.
Together.
That's already a little bit of it done that you probably didn't even internally realize. Yeah. So that's good.
I guess
so
I'm overthinking things.
It's kind of hard when you have all these things on your plate, and we also just talked about your sister, and you're having a little bit of stress at home too. So it's just sometimes good to sit down and internally think okay, I'm gonna do this then and work it all out. So okay, project we're gonna do on Monday night. Your French test we're not worried about.
Not really.
Do you ever study for French?
Really, I just go into class and it's test today. I'm well,
yeah. Does it come sort of second nature to you?
It does, but this French teacher, he's harder than my last French teacher. He takes points off of the smallest details. That's one thing I'm worried about. I'm really good at French, but small details like that, I have trouble remembering. Yeah. So that's the only thing I'm really worried about. But otherwise, I know the material. Right.
So yeah, it sounds like you're pretty confident with this class, which is always a good thing, especially when you have everything on your plate. Just being able to sit down and be really confident while taking that test. So I guess my only suggestion to you when you're taking this test is those little nitpicky things in the back of your mind that you have to focus on. Just take your time during the test. I know personally I'm a very I rush through a test to try to get everything on paper that I know. I'm okay, I know it, I did it, done. But when you have a teacher that looks for things like that and makes sure you're doing it perfect and stuff like that, it's always good to take a step back and breathe for a second. You have 50 minutes to take the test? Yeah. So you usually probably finish it in 30 and you're I want to get out of here. So probably just take a step back, look at it, make sure you get all those little nitpicky things. That way what you know, and it sounds like you're really good at French, so you want your test to reflect that you know what you're doing. You know what I mean? So, okay. Project, test, one more test, right? Yes. How do we feel about that?
It's in a class that material's a lot more difficult than what I'm used to. Mm-hmm. I have one test in personality psychology, which sounds very interesting and all, but there's a language barrier between the teacher and the students.
Right.
When she explains things, she doesn't know how to explain it in English. Mm-hmm. So it makes it kind of difficult to know what to study and what we should know by now. But the last test, my first test, I got 56 on it, and I was really scared I was going to fail the class because all we have is test grades in that class. We have nothing else but test grades. So I was really stressed about that. But last test, our second test, I got 80 on it. So I'm in crossfires. How should I study for this test? Should I study like I did last time, or will the test be a whole different way because like each time she did the test like different ways.
Right. So
I don't know how to do things.
Right. So how was the test structured the first time different than the second time?
She said she pulled the questions from a test bank.
Okay.
And that's not necessarily the material we studied in class.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like hit and miss. Oh, did I read that or did she talk about that?
Right.
The second test, she gave us a detailed outline about what we should know. Then I looked at the outline and I read my textbook. I did better on the second test.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if she's going to give us a detailed outline next time. She said she's going to give us a cheat sheet, but I'm not sure if that's going to be helpful like the outline was. So
like a cheat sheet you can use during the test.
I don't think we use it during the test. I think
Okay.
it's just something we can study with.
Maybe it's more like that outline you had that second time. Just it sounds like she makes different formats, which can sometimes be confusing because you can't keep a consistent study routine. But it sounds like that cheat sheet's going to be a little bit like the outline. So you said you worked better outline and reading the textbook.
Like her notes, I didn't even read them because they weren't even on the first test.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, you guys should be doing a lot better than what you're doing. Like, give me the material. Like, no, you're explaining like one big concept and not explaining the nitty-gritty details that we need to know for the material. So it's like half the class has already dropped the class.
Mm-hmm.
So we were from having like 60 people down to like maybe 30 people.
Well, I mean, good for you sticking it out.
I mean,
You got to do it for your degree. I feel you. But you know, sometimes it's not. I hate to say this, but like you learn the way you learn, and if you are gonna interpret the material the way you interpret it. So if you sitting at home reading the textbook and taking your own notes and figuring it out on your own works better, then I would just do that to get the grade that you need. You know? Do you feel a little bit better now that we've talked about all your assignments and stuff? Okay, good. So
I feel like I'm so behind, but
in reality, you're not. Yeah, you definitely sound like you have everything on track. And I know some people would recommend like write it down in a planner or something like that. But it sounds like you're more of like an internal planner and just like need to know a schedule of how you're gonna tackle your goals. Yeah. Okay. So I'll just wrap up real quick everything we just talked about. So we did start talking about your sister. I know we've like sidetracked a little bit from there, but I think it was good just to like get that out in the open and realize that we're kind of just let that go and let it flow and just be the good sister you can be when something does come up, right? And then with your school stuff, I think we laid out a really good plan for all the things you can tackle this week. And then maybe in our next session, as it gets closer to the end of the semester, we could talk more about your job and how you're planning on prepping for the end of the semester and the summer. Does that sound good? Okay, perfect. Well, I'm glad we got to talk today.